Hi there, I'm Virginia of the YouTube channel Finicky Reader, and you won't be seeing my face today, because cameras are beyond me. I've decided to start this channel because I really love watching YouTube videos about books and listening to people talk about the books they love. I was only able to read one proper book this week because university got complicated and work was quite busy, but I read 15 comic books, and that's nothing to sneeze at, I don't think. The book was a non-fiction book called Iraqi Women by Nadia Sadig Al-Ali. Listen to me mispronounce that. And I don't know how I feel about this. I really did love it, and I'd love to get more people to read it, but it didn't make me happy. It was quite an emotional book, but at its heart it's quite academic. And honestly, I ended up feeling a touch guilty. Nadia herself is a woman of mixed German and Iraqi heritage, and in this book she tells the relatively unheard story of Iraqi women from interviews that she did herself, and I find myself quite lost for words. At the beginning I had some trouble connecting to the women she was talking about, partly because it is quite academic, but also partly because she sections up the writing of these women. She pulls from it to illustrate a point, but with so many names flying by, and I'll be honest, names that I'm not familiar with, I have trouble turning them into solid narratives in my mind, so I couldn't connect. The fact that she's as well dealing with so many different groups of people, different political groups and ethnic groups, I found very hard to keep everyone straight. In the end, it was events that I was relatively familiar with that really shook me to the core. The war with Britain and America, and the destruction that we brought, the carnage that, although things weren't going wonderfully before, they at least had some sense of safety. They had a sense of dignity that we robbed them of. I know that things would have had to change, and they would in time, I do think, but this book has given me a lot to think about, and I'll be mulling it over for a while. Now that has got you all onto a downer, I did manage to read some comic books while I was avoiding writing essays. I got through issues 4 to 8 of Loki Agents of Asgard, which was actually quite fun. I think it does suffer from being tied into all the other current comics, so it references a lot of events that you haven't actually seen, but I'm excited to see where it goes, and it's relatively inventive, complete with gratuitous unicorn, but it was one of those unseen events that made me feel I needed to read Axis Revolutions, a 4-issue miniseries that left me generally disappointed. The problem with Revolutions was that it referenced so many things, so many other comic books, that it just couldn't stand up on its own. It wasn't fun if you didn't know what was going on in X-Men and the Avengers and Fantastic Four, even though there were some good ones, such as Thor probably, and Spider-Man was quite good on its own, even though there wasn't much story. It sounds like I only have bad things to say, but I do have some good things to say. I really liked the 2014 version of Thor. I'm only 3 editions in, so I know it's a woman, but I don't know who it is. I'm sure she's known to, dedicated readers, but I'm happy to just go with it and see what happens. The last 2 I read were the 1st and 2nd edition of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I picked up because I watched the TV show and I quite liked it. It is different in the same way that the Marvel movies are different from the comic books. They couldn't exactly use the same big reveals as they did in the TV show, but in this they can actually have the characters interacting with the Avengers without having to pay very large fees to the actors that play them. I'm quite looking forward to reading the next few editions and finding out where they're going with this and what they're going to do with the characters. But that's going to have to wait till Monday because I'm going to be spending the weekend with my parents and my laptop does not like comic books. Looking forward into the week ahead, I will be visiting the library on Monday to return a load of books I had over the Christmas holidays. But I've got 3 books still to read that'll keep me going till then. I've got, Teach Yourself to Think by Edward de Bono, Hardwiring Happiness by Rick Hanson, and Angry White People by, the best I can make out, Paseo Hung Pei. I know I've got that wrong. I know. You may have guessed that I'm a lover of non-fiction. I do love fiction as well, but I find it so hard to identify a book that I will love from just the cover and the title. That's why I get most of my fiction from Amazon rather than the library. It just gives me recommendations to work from and a better chance of a hit. And I don't want to give a bad review to a book just because it wasn't my type of thing. I don't want to run the risk of putting someone off just because my finicky reading habits weren't satisfied. And especially nowadays, studying with the Open University, I only have so much time to read, and I just want to get the best out of every hour. On that note, I'm going to skedaddle and get on with reading. I hope anyone who bothers to listen to this has a really good week. I'm not holding my breath, but we live in hope. See ya.